Hey, Ola. Thanks for your presence today.
Hi, Liew. Thank you for letting me be part of this webinar today. And hello from Dubai.
Anytime, Ola. We know there were millions of hacking attacks that took place during the pandemic. This mainly happened because we started working from home without any internet security measures. How is the current situation? Is it getting better?
Well, I don't think it's getting better, but at least it comes back a little bit to normal. Southeast Asia, still, there is a lot of lockdown in some countries, but here in this side of the region, it has opened up, but it also created a lot of problem during the pandemic because during the pandemic, we were suddenly forced to be at home immediately, leave office, go home, start working from home. And I think it was like an open buffet for all hackers to get critical data and really do a lot of bad things because of the unexperience of small business owner, even big business owners, regarding the policies, how to treat and protect the data between homes, office, and in general, the data from the businesses. So yes, it has been a lot of havoc. It has been a lot of more intrusions and a lot more problems. But there is always a bright side on it. We learn, and during this webinar, we will go through a lot of these steps and understand better what we can do better in the cyberspace when it comes to these parts.
Okay, what's the condition now? Is it okay, or there are still things that we should be concerned about?
Yeah, I think we are because the trend the last couple of months is that when the easiest way to get a hold of emails, for an example, over the companies, and from the company's header, they will use the name of some of the employees and send an email to another employees. We, including myself, when you get an email and you see the header and it says Liew on it, normally we will click on it and we will not think twice about it. But today, you really need to take that consideration that that could even be a threat. Because if you open the email by itself and you see actually the name of the domain of that email, it could be something different. And by in a millisecond, we click on something because we think it's our friend, and suddenly we have done something we shouldn't have done.
So, what do you suggest that our audience or customers do?
I think there is a lot of steps. We will go through 10 steps here today and just briefly discuss each and one of them. But I think the most important one is always to educate your team.
Right.
What I mean with that is training how to detect, how to use, how to explain the different parts, why this is so important. Because just telling your employees this is what you have to do is not enough. Because it's understanding when you do that, what will happen and what are the consequences. This is the most important, and there is many things in these steps that is important in the training part. So always what we think is number one is always look at the link and see where the link is from before you're clicking on it, because that is the biggest mistake we all do, including myself. Check the email string where it's from. As I was saying, the header can have your name, but actually the email is not from you, it's from somebody else that is there to take your information or do something bad. And always when you get information, use common sense and think, is this odd? Why would somebody from my boss asking me to buy, for an example, Amazon prepaid gift cards digitally through an email in my organization? That has happened in my own organization, in our things, because when somebody gets the email list, it's a very easy prey. Because if, for example, say I'm the boss and you get an email from me, you're my employee, and says, hey, listen, I'd like you to do this. You will not think twice about doing that because the boss is asking you to do that. But that email maybe was not from the boss, and that request was to do something, to spend money digitally to give to this fraudster or the scammer. So this has happened a lot during this pandemic, and I think that's one of the most common things. So by understanding common sense and train your team, you will take away 70% of all the problems you will have when it comes to internet first step of problems in your organization. Secondly, I think what is important is that any system that you have in your organization, software and so on, because everything is digitally, you're going to have people maybe logging in from home, etc. So it's important that everything you have in your organization, from software, policies, are in place, or that you enforce them, because otherwise that is a threat, and it can be a very easy way for anyone to hack into your systems, for example. So it's very important.
Right.
And who has control of your access to your system? This is also important because today we live in the chatter world. We are in WhatsApp. Most of our communication, even corporate communication, is happening through the WhatsApp. So
Right.
mean that maybe in a WhatsApp group, you're going to send a password, and maybe there is an employee or somebody in that group that that phone or that messages is being used by somebody else. So it's important always to think how you're using the data, especially sensitive information, and how that is going through the chain of command in the organization. So this is a very important thing to think about, because that's the easiest way for anybody to actually copy paste and send to a friend or somebody. Because, for example, say you are a bigger organization, you just fired, or you have somebody that is going to be laid off, and he's maybe angry with the boss. So he's going to share that data with somebody else because he, at the moment, is emotional and is doing the wrong thing that he was not supposed to do. And that can have consequences later on in the whole process. So this is a very important part. So control the access, who has access to the systems. And fourth, that I think is a very important one, is the Wi-Fi security. Because when you're at work, maybe there is firewalls and other things set up for your Wi-Fi and the security of how you're connecting to the systems in your office. But at home, it's a different story, because you're sharing a Wi-Fi home with your children, with your spouses, maybe with friends, maybe with guests coming to your house, etc., etc. So it's important to think and make sure that the Wi-Fi is something that can be a threat in your whole process when you're using to work from home, because that data that you're working from home to the office, to servers in the office, can be compromised through that network in your house. So this is very, very important. And then obviously the employees' personal accounts. It's important that everything that you have in your emails, in your corporate structure, that this is looked at on a timely basis, because maybe there is emails that has not been deleted from the system, that is still there, that can be utilized by somebody else. And that's a very easy way to add, for hackers, add in Trojan or other malwares into your organizational data servers, mail servers, etc., that can create a havoc, or taking that database of emails and send out to other people, thinking that utilizing your email for phishing attacks, for other things that can be of not so good manners for your organization, because your email is being used by somebody else to do illegal action. And then obviously the access management of everything that you have, because that access management needs to make sure that he has a full control over everything that is in your organization when it comes to the digital space. So there's a lot of things to think about. Maybe it can be very overwhelming for a small business owner in the beginning. But these are steps because we are living in a digital world. We are living in the physical world, but we're also living more today in the digital world with everything we do and how we interact, all the touch points from buying things online, from communicating online, from sharing photos, information, data, etc. Everything is happening online today. So for an organization as well, that we had, my experience over the last 30 years is very important, is to back up your data. Because as soon as you have a threat or something has happened with the relevant data you have today, you need to have a backup so you can make sure that is backup data that is not contaminated from the last time you backed up your data. And this should be done on a consistent basis. As long as the database is growing, then make sure that this is also backed up, because if something happened, you always have a line to recover the data that maybe has been compromised by a hacker. And number 10 is an important part in today's world, is to install a firewall. What I mean, firewall can be an overwhelming word for many, because we know that normally a firewall can be very expensive for a small business owner. But today is a necessity. So we're going to see how a firewall, for example, can have different kind of function. There is many different kind of firewalls. And I think today, in the way we are interacting as a small business owner, is everything on the mobile. We like to do in social media, we have different things. So we do everything in a very same manner when it comes is touch, swipe, and communicate. In the old traditional way, when you work with a firewall for an organization, is normally that you're going to enter a lot of data functionalities for the firewall to do the different function that you ask the firewall to do for you in your organization. That means a lot of processes has to be programmed for your organization. And that is a complex and time-consuming endeavor that can be complicated for a small business owner, not only time-wise, but money-wise. And then on top of that, you need somebody in your organization to run and update and manage that firewall. And that can also be a costly endeavor for a small business owner, because can maybe not afford it. So this is the 10 steps that I think today a small business owner, medium size, should have on their agenda when it comes to protect the digital space of your operation.
Right. Thanks for pointing out the measures, Ola. As you mentioned, firewall is definitely important in that regards. How much would you actually refer Audra Business to our
Yeah,
customers, and why?
yeah, I see, because like me, I do not like things complicated.
Right.
Uh, Even if I'm in this space, but I still don't like. I like my world to be very simple in the way when I communicate. Convenience. Convenience is everything what we do today, because of that we don't have enough time, and we want things to be convenient. It has to be easy, it has to be quick, and it has to do what we want it to do in a very simple manner. So Audra Business has been built not as a firewall from the beginning, but it has been built from the consumer's point of view, how they interact digitally. And the firewall itself, when it comes to Audra, is built and been used and is functioned that way as well. What I mean with that is that you, as a business owner, or me, when you set up an account like a WhatsApp account or your Facebook, or how you interact with this kind of Instagram, etc., it's a few function you learn very quickly, They are very simple, but you put different rules. For example, when you put your security measures in Instagram or Facebook, you're going to swipe, you're going to click. I want to have done this, this, click, 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 and it's set up. Audra Business has been done the same way. Why? Because it should not be complicated. Why should you need to program every function in your process into the box for you to work the way you are working? No, no, no. In Audra, we have decided that, hey, we put up categories, meaning that, for example, I want to protect this kind of things, threats in my way from social media, for example, or adware or malware. So I just gonna go and swipe or click on protect me from malware or adware. If I want, for example, my employees should not be able to go to explicit websites or dangerous website. I mean, I'm talking about violence, I'm talking about weaponry, sexual content website, etc., because it's going to clog up and there is a threat from these sites many times when it comes to malware, adwares, and other things. So by just in one swipe, I can protect all the categories, meaning every website globally that is under that category in one swipe will be protected. If I have a firewall, a traditional one, I need to put each website, each domain name, each time to put into the to the to my firewall. But in Audra is one easy touch, click, and I have protected myself from the whole category. Same comes when it comes to time management, for example. In the way I manage my employees, for example, maybe I have an accounting department, maybe I have a marketing department, maybe I have a sales department, management. I want to make sure that the Wi-Fi or the data or the internet is divided accordingly to the need of these different divisions in my business. So in a very easy way, you then set this function in Audra to make sure that this is done. Not complicated in one, two actions. You have then set different kind of categories, marketing, sales, management, etc., and then placing the right employees under each management and or category, and then you have then easily managed the whole office, how they're utilizing the internet, because in marketing department maybe they have need to have access to different things. The financial and accounting department should maybe not have access to everything due to the thing that they are using critical information and logins maybe to the bank, to insurance, etc., where they should not use the internet to other things than exactly this. So you can protect by whitelist or blacklist different categories and functions and domains for your business, just with some easy swipes and add-ons in the application. And the application is made very simple in the way that I'm going to download an app, or I'm going on the website, and from there immediately I can set the rules. I have an overview exactly what's going on, what are the threats that is happening onto my business, my internet at that time, and how it's protected and how many times this has happened. And why this is important is because we need to understand what is going on digitally when it comes to threat. When you today goes online, you have no idea how many threats actually is happening all the time on the internet that you're utilizing. Which websites you go to, which ones are maybe having malware, adware, or Trojan horses, or downloading something to your application of your phone or on your laptop, etc. But in Audra, in the backend, you will have a very easy overview exactly how many threats has been detected, how many threats has been prevented. So you can understand, say for example, employee number B, he has a laptop that has an enormous amount of threats being prevented. then you can immediately understand that maybe his device, when he has left the office, he's been on a public Wi-Fi, or he has maybe some malware, adwares, anything on his phone or on his laptop that is creating havoc on his device, and he's now bringing that to the office, and you can understand immediately this is a threat, then means that you can take action of fixing that device and cleaning it up or asking him and so on, because this is information that you don't have today in a normal way when you have an office. But now immediately you can see, understand what's going on, and you can take action. And this is a new way of actually being proactive in your environment, in your business, because it's better to prevent threats and be proactive than when it happens. Say, for example, you have a phishing attack when somebody's stealing your banking information and take your money from your account. It's better to be proactive than that specific action happens, because if it has happened, you are screwed, meaning that you have already lost the battle. But with Audra, you can actually be proactive and prevent most of this threat. And this is very important, in my view, in today's digital space.
Right, Ola. In Malaysia, we face similar challenges. Okay, we have SMBs who are, you know, almost a very large percentage of the SMEs and SMBs are not covered. You know, they don't have a firewall or even network security of any kind. So the reason we found out is that many of them think that firewalls are very expensive.
Yeah.
Right. That's the first thing. Second thing, they thought it's very complicated. You know, so they don't know how to set it up and they don't know how to use it and things like that.
Yeah.
So we actually proposed an Audra to them, and they found out that it is actually very cost effective for the organization, and also it's very easy to use, and they can set the controls, you know, themselves, you know, with just a few steps, and they found it how to say that they are able to protect their network and also their employees and their assets.
And this
So
is the most important thing, because these three things as a business owner you always have to think about, right?
mhm,
One is the data protection. One is the management of utilization of the internet in your office. For example, the bandwidth utilization. Because say, for example, 3 employees is sitting and streaming all day long and utilizing most of the bandwidth space, meaning that other employees are not able to work properly because their internet is too slow, for example. And
yeah.
that Audra can immediately have that function with a couple of clicks and making sure that that doesn't happen. I think is a very important part. And that it has like a big firewall, it has the redundancy, meaning that you can have 2 internet connections, making sure that and the balance loader and etc. that you would have on a very expensive unit, but in Audra is already included, and it's part of that. And the most important in my view, except from the data protection, is the productivity from a business owner point of view in the office with Audra is increasing, and that is very important. And the cost factor that you said, because in my view, what I've seen in most cases, that you install Audra, the business owner or the admin person in the office can actually manage by a few clicks utilizing the application. Do not need to have an IT manager or an IT specialist in the office. If you have a very small office, the cost of an IT specialist will be tremendous, in the way that just to manage a firewall, to have an IT specialist that you're paying a lot of money for, that you maybe don't need for other things. When you with Audra, within maybe 1 or 2 months salary of that IT specialist, you have actually a protection for the whole year, and you can manage it yourself. And the most important for a business owner, that you understand it, because today, even me, if you take a traditional firewall, you need a special IT specialist to program it, to enter all the data, update the data, and go back to the data and see where it's something has happened. They have to go in there and change IP addresses, doing different IP protocols, etc. That for a business owner is impossible to understand if you're not an IT specialist. But in Audra, immediately in the view, in your hand, you can see where the problem is and you can take action.
Right.
And this is the amazing part with Audra, in my view, that you have that ease, you have the productivity, you have the cost factor, and the protection that you would have for a traditional firewall, but in a very simple way.
Right. So that is exactly what we are doing in Malaysia. We try to educate the customers on the importance of having a good network security. So, and that they can do it with the Audra firewall because
Yeah,
it's cost effective and it's also easy to use. Yeah.
correct. And maybe many says in things, yes, but I have this Fortinet or I have these other things and so on. But for a small business owner or a medium size, or when you have many different branches, what is the most important? Most important that you have a fully functional firewall system that you can manage in a very easy way, especially during these COVID times when you cannot travel, you can maybe not install in different kind of branches that are far away and so on because of this. And where Audra in this case is a very simple solution, very fast to install and very easy to use. And I cannot stress that enough. Is the easiness, having the same protection as the big firewalls, but in a very simple way for the user. And this is the key.
Right. So to that end, I think we have a very important mission. I mean,
Yeah.
both of us, to
Yes.
actually educate our customers on the importance of this having a good network security. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think one of the most important part, because it doesn't matter if it's Malaysia, it doesn't matter if it's Indonesia, it doesn't matter if it's here in Dubai.
Right.
But today, if you take any bank, and I think this is what we need to think twice. Why does every bank in every country today, to you, to everybody that listening in today, they are sending you emails on their website, on their home page? Be aware of phishing attacks. Why? Because this is the easiest way for a hacker to take your data today through phishing attacks. And
Right.
what is a phishing attack? Yes, it's a clone website of the bank where you think is the bank's website, but you're actually entering all your private data to enter your bank account to an hacker. And the
Right.
second after, he's utilizing your data to enter into your bank account and take your money. And why does all the bank does this? So we should be very aware, because if the bank has realized this is the most major problem for them, that means it means for all of us. So, and how can you protect yourself from phishing attacks? Audra has that very simple solution that it takes that threat away immediately. And I think that is a good ending point when it comes to why Audra should be one of the thing you should think about in your organization to have a look at.
Right. So yeah, thank you very much, Ola, for sharing. The 10 points that you have just shared just now. And we really appreciate it. And we hope our customers have learned a thing or two. From today's presentation. Right.
Thank you.
So, is there anything else, Ola, that you would like to add on?
Yeah, I cannot stress. Remember point number one, educate your team, use common sense. Make sure that when you get an email, do not click on it until you look at the string of the where did that email come from, not just the header with the name of the friend that you know. Behind that friend of there is maybe some hacker that has used his name but the string is from somebody else.
Right.
And I think in my mailbox on a daily basis, I think 7-8% of my emails that I get is this kind of emails. So it's an enormous amount. So imagine in a company where you have 10, 20 people or 5 people, and they see their friend's name, they're going to click on it without thinking. And that's what happens all the time in phishing attacks, because you think it's your bank's email, and you click, and immediately you are on the phishing attacks cloning site, and it's going to steal your information. So it's very, very important. And I cannot stress that point. Educate of common sense how you're using the digital space today.
Right. Yep. Recently, I also have a customer, who has an attack, that he faced in his office, and he was, one day he went. He went to his office, and he couldn't click open all his files. It was all locked.
Yeah.
The same thing goes with all his employees, workstations. And
Ransomware.
yeah, it's a ransomware. So immediately, he called us, and we actually tried to help him to solve the matter. And we installed the Audra firewall in his office.
Yeah.
And thereafter, he actually feel, he's more secure, and he finds it very easy to use. And he's so glad that he's actually recommending Audra to his other friends, in their business.
Yeah, and this is not only on a simple scale when it comes to businesses. I was just in talks last week with actually a crypto exchange server where somebody hacked not the first layer, second layer, and so on, but they hacked into one part of the servers and utilized the exchange servers to do mining without noting the exchange itself, meaning that they were utilizing the server and the server cost of a big network, because they could hack in to one part of the servers and utilize that for their illegal utilization of their service, without a cost for them, but a big cost for this exchange. So even the most profound that has a lot of protection, they also will get hacked. So
Right.
at least have the minimum protection as a small business is a must, because when it happened or when it has happened, it's too late.
Right.
So you need to be proactive.
Yep. I think prevention is better than the cure.
Yeah.
So it's very important, yes,
Cost
to
wise, yes, because
yeah,
when it has happened, it's going to cost you 10 times.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Ola. I think we have covered pretty much a lot of things today. So
And I
so
think
basically,
also, yeah,
yeah.
I think because you should go to audra.io, read a little bit so you better understanding what it's all about. And when you have educated yourself a little bit there, reach out. And Liew, if you are in Malaysia, he will gladly take you on the trip or the journey to showcase you and show you how simple it is and how it can be a very big benefit and a cost saving in your business.
Right. Okay. So all right. So in closing, I think one take-home point from all this is that we need to do some set up the network security as soon as possible for our companies, and secondly, you can actually learn more about Audra on our website, which you have just shared, right? So, Ola, is there anything we would like to say before we close?
I say thank you very much, and get protection because it's
Right.
important. And thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ola. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks.
Bye.
Right.
a company of one, a buzzing startup, and even big teams all want to achieve the same things. Secure business from losses. Be more productive. Turn around and grow fearlessly. Stay focused on your business and let Audra take care of internet security and work productivity. Business-grade security with home-grade simplicity. Audra is the practical, simple and affordable partner for you. It sits at your workplace as a guide and a guard. Uses its state-of-the-art machine learning and robust cloud AI, and brings all the simple app-based controls that you have always wanted. Prevent complex security issues in just a few taps. Block access to unproductive and harmful categories at work. Add specific sites and apps to block list, or whitelist only the approved ones. Set team-by-team schedules or time quotas. Allocate bandwidth for best productivity. Use 2 connections with load balancing like never before. Get analytics and monitor all network activities anytime, anywhere. Businesses around the region are saying yes to Audra. It's time that you do too.